Hello, my name's Ronnie, and this is a mountain oracle. I don't know whether that makes me the mountain oracle or I'm just a guy filling up a seat here, but my cohort, my accomplice, my brother in crime, Bob, is not here tonight. He's absent. I think he's off into some nefarious dealings. Actually, I think he had some problems, had an employee come to work to do some stuff at his some yard work or something, and he had to stay there and oversee it. Bob's kind of a peculiar sort of feller anyway. But I've got some. This is not probably won't be a full hour show, but it's going to be. I'm going to say some things I want to say because I want to say them. Maybe you don't want to hear them and want to tune in somewhere else. But I want to start off with this idea about some states are looking for a federal infusion of money to help them bail out all their shortfalls because of the coronavirus shutdown. The woo-hoo, woo-woo, woo flu. But, you know, you get to thinking about it. The retail stores are supposed to try their best to survive. They shut down restaurants and small businesses all over the place. And they're supposed to be able to just jump right in and recover and go on. Now, think about this. Here in this state, every time a dollar is spent in a retail store, the state government gets 9.25 cents out of that dollar. And some states are more. Some with an income tax has a little less, but what are their expenses? The guy with the restaurant, he's besides all of the regulations and the headache and his overhead, he still tries to pull out a profit. Now I don't know anything about Walmart's business, but I've been told they try to operate between 4 and 5% clear money, and they've done pretty good. They've built stores in a lot of places. And their businesses, even despite everything, is going right along. But the state now, just here, they get 9.25%, not between 4 and 5, but 9.25. And what is their overhead? They've got to count the money. Well, they want to make sure they collect it, but they want mostly their biggest expense is just counting it and figuring out how to spend it. Now, if Walmart can make it on 4.5%, less than half that, and a restaurant can make it on, say, 5 or 6%, if they're lucky, they get that clear. And people selling gas, they might make 2% off the gas product, and they still have all the headaches and stuff, and they've got a lot more to do than just count it. In fact, a retail store has to do the first counting and make sure it's properly filed and all the forms are filled out. And then the state has to hire somebody just to check it. So what I'm trying to get to is if there's a state that needs bailed out, it's not because they've not had enough money. It's because they've mismanaged. So I guess that's just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I did a little traveling this weekend, and this week it's just passed, and I noticed that people are starting to get out again. Really, they're just chomping to bits to get out again, if you want to know the truth. But I couldn't help but catch some of the news, and it seems like the easiest way to rewrite history is probably to erase the tracks, and you can start over if people don't remember what's happening. So if we burn the books or advise people to take them off their shelf, and if we tear down the statues and whenever, and that's a country word, whenever nobody remembers history, then it's okay to rewrite it. This sounds a little Orwellian to me, that George Orwell guy. But what I know that maybe I've outlived my time. I may have outlived my usefulness. I may be already gone. Happened to my grandpa, poor old Papa. He was he was kind of a sort of a rounder. He was always into some sort of conflict, and he'd get in a gunfight and he'd call somebody out in the middle of the street and they'd have a shootout. I don't know whether he ever killed anybody or not, but he wounded several. But he outlived his usefulness. He lived too long. It happened one day. He called this guy out. They was gonna have a gun battle. He met him out high noon out in the middle of the street, and he had just been doing it too long. He was just too old. He was there before he ever got his gun out of his holster. There's a cement truck run over him and has the end of pawpaw. But the point is, you can live too long and not be able to understand situations, and apparently that's what I've done. I've just gone too long. I've got oh, wait a minute. Got somebody talking to me. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, what'd you say now? Oh, autonomous zones. I'm all for that. Yeah, I'm for it. I mean, why not? We got, if they can get by with it, we can too. I wouldn't care to declare independence from the city and the county and the state and the federal government. We could apply for foreign aid and do real good here. No, I don't think they ought to do anything. I don't think they ought to do anything to it, because if they shut it down, then nobody will get to see how it works out. I think probably the best thing that can happen is to let this thing play out and see how it works, and then that's a good sample of the way socialism and communism and Antifa and all them high ideal plans are going to work out. It just, if it's not, wouldn't be unprecedented to shut them down. You remember Waco and Ruby Ridge and the Bundys. They didn't work out real well. And if you stop and think about it, Bill Clinton was the president. Janet Rito was the Attorney General during the Waco siege. And what did they have on this David Koresh? They said that he was, kind of having some funny things going on with little girls. And one weekend while Bill Clinton, while he was on a junket down to Paradise Island with his old buddy Epstein, I guess that's where he's at, Janet Reno called in an airstrike practically, only I think it was more of a tank strike or something, and you can make out of that whatever you want to, but the whole thing is that has kind of become a rallying cry with the patriots. Turn those people, good or bad, into martyrs. So even if Trump were to send in federal troops into Seattle, it wouldn't be as if it had never happened before, but there's no use in repeating a mistake, and I think that's what that was. We had these generals come out this last week. I think they're mostly just trying to make sure they keep the deep state alive. Hillary called General General Petraeus, and I think it finally played out. I think that's just what he's done. I think they're more worried about their own financial and social situations than they are the good of the country. If you are real happy with what's going on, if you're really happy with the situation as it is, then you need to go out and support your local Democrat and everybody up to scale, because, and I don't think the GOP is much better, but you can see that this is if you're happy with all this turmoil and chaos, and you need to vote for the party that will encourage it. So your man, if he holds up that long and still awake, you need to vote for old Joe. But what? Yeah, I was personally offended. I've just not recovered from the shock yet. I was walking through the store and I saw this box of caramel popcorn there, and it said Cracker Jack, and it just struck me to the core. I couldn't take it. I just couldn't. They're going to have to change that. Maybe Caucasian Jack or something. We can't have something that hurtful to sensitive souls like me. There was a Supreme Court nominee by the name of Bork. He was a federal judge, and I can't remember his first name, but Bork was up for Supreme Court back in, when was that? That was probably in the 80s. Yeah, that was under Reagan. So he nominated Judge Bork for the Supreme Court, and Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck's a good actor. I liked him as Ahab, not Ahab the Arab, but Ahab the ship captain in Moby Dick. And he was good in Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah, but just because he's a good actor and goes out to being a good pretender don't mean he really had that much understanding of the real world. I mean, he lived in a fantasy world. He made his money off of fantasy, but be that as it may, he came out and encouraged people not to vote for Bork. And Ted Kennedy come out and he just practically verbally assassinated the man. So he finally withdrew. He just couldn't stand it any longer. But the reason I mentioned him, he wrote a book, I believe it was called Slouching Toward Gomorrah. And when I read that book, actually I didn't read it, I listened to it. I had it in audio version. I really didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. But he penned it, 30 years ago. We are slowly easing into Gomorrah. Gomorrah being a reference to Sodom and Gomorrah of the Old Testament, when they two little towns got so corrupt that they were destroyed, and we're slowly working our way to that same situation, like it happened to the Greeks and it happened to the Romans, and it's happening to us. When you quit taking care of business and start worrying about what somebody else thinks about what's going on, then really it's about over. I don't see any of this stuff working out well. It seems to me that you might slow down the slide, but you're not going to end the slide. It's too fixed, and you can't count on people. Well, let's take this for instance. You can be. I don't know whether you're familiar with Jeopardy. I don't have a television anymore, but I used to watch Jeopardy every night. Love the show, and the one guy on there that won, they practically had to invent new methods just to get rid of him. Ken Jennings. He seemed to know everything, but nowadays, judging from his public comments, he's a damn fool. Which goes to prove you can have a lot of knowledge and not much sense. And I don't pretend to be smart, but I'm smarter than some people that gets credit for stuff they don't know. And it seems to me like we've got more fools running the show now than we've got people with actually ability and common sense, which is not very common. And don't get me wrong, I don't want the job. I can be a better critic than I am a participant, but we'll have to let that see how it works out. I don't. I don't watch the news today. I mean, listened, and it seems like the Judge John Roberts is a backstabber. He's come out, don't want to overturn anything that Obama did. Obama, the same guy, called him out in a State of the Union address and called Roberts out. I don't know about that guy. I'm a little bit worried about Mr. John Roberts. But I'm not a judge. What I know, you don't have to be a judge to be on the Supreme Court. It's you don't have to be a lawyer to be on the Supreme Court. And all you got to know is you got to where they get you. All you have to do is be able to read and understand the Constitution, which is not written in gobbledygook. It's pretty straightforward. But where you have to probably have some legal knowledge is be able to read the briefs and the laws that are challenged before you. So since you have lawyers to write that, it takes 2 or 3 more to read it, I suppose. We don't have a lot of common sense going on right now in government. We got and our news media is not news anymore. It's just a propaganda outfit. Of course, part of it is out there to. If you choose sides, you can generate an audience, I suppose. But you take this. We had this big outcry when the people, especially up in Michigan, did some protesting, wanted to reopen some stuff. People were getting hungry. They was ready to go back to work. So they come out and they had masks and tried to social distance and all that and do protests. And the media came out and condemned that, and we were going to kill the world. Everybody's going to die because these people got out and congregated. And then it wasn't long after that till they had all this stuff going on with these protests, and then the media backed that 100%. Apparently, you don't get sick if you're burning a store and stealing a television, but if you get out there and go to church, you're going to die. Everybody's going to die. I don't know. This situation's going on. John Bolton just had a book come out, and he lost me when I didn't put much faith, and I've not read the book. I'm not going to pay $29 for it and read it. I really don't care what it says because just based on what I hear, he comes out and he says that the impeachment committee didn't go far enough when they just investigated Ukraine. They should have gone further. Well, right there, that Ukraine story was about the most made up, idiotic thing, and that was no reason to get excited. Is it not the job of the president to work with other leaders? And if you get to thinking about it, there was a big stink because Hillary's emails were released, and we got to figure out who released them and what. You missed the point. They're just trying to cover up the truth. It's all just an attempt to cover up the truth. If Hillary's emails did not say anything which were in violation of federal law the way she did it anyway, we wouldn't have had access to them if she'd been on a secure server instead of in her closet, in the basement, in the bathroom, or somewhere. But if we had just had, if she had just followed the law, we wouldn't have had it. But this whole thing has been a distraction. And don't pay attention to what was said. You just make sure you hang somebody for saying it. For exposing it. We've lost our mind, and if you follow these people that are trying to lead you down that road, you're just not much smarter than they are, and I guess that makes all of us a member of that basket of deplorables, one basket or the other. I don't know how long this thing is going, but I'm about talked out. I kind of relied on Bob, and he didn't show up. So I promise next week will be more fun, and we're trying to get the bugs out of the system yet anyway. So this is just kind of a test run. I hope it don't fall too flat, and I do thank you for tuning in. And next week, hopefully, we'll have a show together. And yeah, Bob will be back. I know he will. He get caught up. Yeah, okay. We'll try to go live next week maybe and stream this thing so you won't have to watch the canned version. And you probably won't know the live version's on, but we'll get there. Just give us time. Thank you for watching, and if you happen to um, tune in and watch this thing, tell somebody about it. We do appreciate it. We're going to get better, I promise. See, I didn't wear my green shirt today. You can see me.